The human body remained a profound mystery throughout most of medieval period. Artists working before the 15th century relied on external observation and rudimental anatomical texts inherited from ancient sources, primarily the writings of Galen. These texts, based largely on animal dissection, contained significant errors about human anatomy. Artists depicted the human form through careful study of surface anatomy, drapery, and classical sculpture, but their understanding of what lay beneath the skin was fragmentally incomplete. Figures in paintings often appeared flat or strategically proportioned because artists simply did not know how muscles connected to bones or how the skeletal structure actually supported the body. The Catholic Church maintained strict control over treatment of human remains. Church doctrine held that the body was sacred, a temple of the soul that would be resurrected at the final judgment. Dissection was viewed as desecration, a violation of the body's sanctity. Public dissections were rare, highly regulated events conducted only under specific circumstances, usually for medical instructions at universities and only with official ecclesiastical permission. Even these sanctioned dissections were limited to executed criminals, and the proceedings followed rigid protocols that prioritized demonstration over discovery. Artists and anatomists who sought deeper knowledge found themselves operating in moral and legal gray areas. Bodies were expensive and difficult to obtain. Some practitioners bribed executioners or gravediggers for access to fresh corpses. Others conducted their work in secret, performing dissections in private studios or rented rooms away from public scrutiny. These sessions often took place at night when the work could be hidden and the smell of decomposition was less likely to attract attention. The risks were substantial. Discovery could mean excommunication, imprisonment, or even worse. Yet the pursuit for anatomical truth drove these early investigators to continue their forbidden research, gradually building a body of knowledge that would transform both medicine and art. Renaissance anatomists and artists discovered they needed each other. Anatomists required skilled hands to document their findings, to capture the precise arrangement of muscles, the branching of blood vessels, and the structure of organs before decomposition redeemed them unrecognizable. Artists needed access to the interior of the human body to understand the mechanics of movements and the architecture beneath the skin. This mutual dependence created an unusual alliance. Medical practitioners opened their dissection theaters to painters and sculptors, while artists brought their observational skills and technical expertise to anatomical investigation. The partnership was practical and necessary, driven by a shared conviction that direct observation trumped inherited authority. Artists became active participants in dissections rather than passive observers. Leonardo da Vinci performed his own dissection, walking through the night with cadavers he obtained through connections at hospitals in Florence and Rome. He dissected approximately 30 bodies over his lifetime, methodically documenting each layer of tissue, each bone, and each organ system. Michelangelo similarly conducted his own anatomical studies, obtaining bodies from the prior of Santo Spirito in Florence. Andrea del Verrocchio taught his students to study anatomy through direct dissection. These artists approached cadavers with scalpels and sketchbooks simultaneously, drawing what they discovered in real time. They made detailed studies of hands, feet, facial muscles, the structure of the eye, and the mechanics of the shoulder joint. This was not abstract study, but hands-on investigation, often performed under less than ideal conditions, with rapidly deteriorating specimens. The knowledge gained from these dissections transformed visual art within a generation. Figures in paintings and sculptures gained unprecedented anatomical accuracy and physical presence. Artists could now depict the human body in complex poses because they understood how muscles stretched and compressed during movement. They rendered hands with correct bone structure and proper insertion points for tendons. They sculpted torsos that showed the actual layering of abdominal muscles. The change was visible and immediate. Compare the works from early 15th century with those from just 50 years later, and the difference is unmistakable. Bodies acquired weight, substance, and anatomical credibility. The idealized forms of earlier art give way to representations grounded in observed reality, marking a fundamental shift in how artists conceived of and executed the human figure. Anatomical knowledge manifested directly in Renaissance masterworks. Michelangelo's David displays muscles in precise anatomical detail, from the tense sternocleidomastoid in the neck to the accurately rendered veins across the hands. His figures on the Sistine Chapel ceiling demonstrate deep understanding of muscular structure, particularly in the twisted poses of the Ignondi. Leonardo's drawings went further, documenting not just surface anatomy but internal systems. His studies of the human heart, the fetus in the womb, and the layers of the skull revealed structures that wouldn't be photographed for centuries. Albrecht Dürer's engravings showed figures with scientifically accurate proportions based on skeletal measurements. Antonio Pollaiuolo's Battle of the Nudes presented 10 male figures in violent action, each muscle group responding correctly to the physical demands of their poses. These works were proof of concept, demonstrating that anatomical study produced tangible artistic results. Public reaction to anatomical investigation remained complicated and often hostile. While the educated elite and certain progressive clergy supported anatomical studies as legitimate pursuits of natural philosophy, the general population viewed dissection with suspicion and disgust. Rumors circulated about the artists and doctors stealing bodies from graves or purchasing executed criminals. The smell alone from dissection rooms marked these spaces as places of death and decay. Some viewed the practice as sacrilegious, a violation of human dignity that threatened divine order. Others saw it as morbid fascination, an unhealthy preoccupation with death. Artists who openly discussed their dissection work risked their reputations. The practice existed in an uncomfortable space between acceptable scholarship and transgressive behavior. Even supporters acknowledged the unsettling nature of this work, the psychological toll of spending hours with decomposing human remains, the troubling questions about consent, and the treatment of the poor whose bodies most often ended up on dissection tables. Anatomical illustrations evolved into their own artistic genre. Andreas Vesalius's De Humani Corporis Fabrica, published in 1543, featured engravings of Ecochet figures posed in landscapes, their skin removed to reveal musculature, yet standing in contrapposto as though alive. These images were anatomically precise and aesthetically composed, meant to be studied and admired. Artists like Jan van Kalkar, who illustrated for Vesalius, brought sophisticated artistic techniques to medical illustrations. The drawings showed bodies opened and displayed with careful attention to composition, light, and spatial relationships. Muscles were rendered with cross-hatching and careful shading. Skeletons were posed thoughtfully, sometimes holding shovels and leaning on pedestals in memento mori gestures. These weren't dry technical diagrams, but carefully constructed images that acknowledge beauty in the body's internal architecture. The anatomical atlas became a hybrid object, serving both as medical reference and as a collection of prints worth preserving for the artistic merit. The distinction between art and science dissolved in these works, replaced by a unified vision of the body as both functional system and object of aesthetic contemplation. Thank you for watching. Until the next one.